week 1 of the fantasy football season, and here's the top 12 defense DST units I'm ranking going into the week. Number 1, the Denver Broncos. Broncos coming into the year, in my opinion, the top defense coming in. And this week, a great matchup to kick off the season versus the Tennessee Titans, where their offense doesn't have much going on, and they got rookie quarterback Cam Ward, the first overall pick in the NFL draft starting. So I think Cam Ward, he could have a decent rookie season, but this week, going into a bustle in Denver, great defense over there, that high altitude, and obviously not much on that offense. Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard, the only reliable options. I think Denver goes out there, has a big game. We know they get to the quarterback a whole lot, and they can hold the team in the mid-teens, low 20s. Number 2, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the best defenses in the league, obviously, led by T.J. Watt, Jalen Ramsey in the secondary. And this week, a good matchup versus former quarterback Justin Fields, who's on the team last season, started a handful of games early in the year. So I think they'll get pressure on Fields early and often. And the Jets, another offense that doesn't have many weapons, obviously. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, the only two reliable options on that offense. The offensive line isn't all that great for the New York Jets. And the Jets, regardless who the quarterback's been over the last few seasons, more games than not, they've had trouble scoring the football. I know this year it's a new coaching staff, new regime, new quarterback in Justin Fields. And obviously I know Justin Fields wants to stick it to his former team, where I thought last season they held him back being the type of player he is and not running as much. But I still think Pittsburgh is going to have their way. This could be a low-scoring game where both defenses go out there and play well. But like I said, with T.J. Watt, one of the best, if not the best pass rusher in all pro football, it might be a long day for Fields. For 3, Arizona Cardinals. So the Cardinals' defense isn't great. But this week, great streaming option, and they're available in over 60% of fantasy leagues is this Cardinal defense. So as a 1-week use, I like the matchup a lot at the New Orleans Saints. They're an aging bunch, and also Spencer Rattler is the quarterback, and we saw him last season. He just was a turnover machine and taking a lot of big hits with Spencer Rattler. I know they still got Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. They're healthy so far going into the season, but this offensive line isn't good, and Spencer Rattler isn't really a quarterback that's going to move that football consistently down the field. So I think Arizona is a 1-week streaming option and a great matchup versus one of the offenses in the league that's going to be one of the worst in New Orleans. I like it. This week is a 1-week streamer and a top 3 defense. Number 4, the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Eagles coming off the Super Bowl. The defense, offense, they're just a great all-around team, obviously. And this week, to kick it off, Thursday Night Football to start the season in the opener, division rival Dallas Cowboys come in. The Cowboys, offensively, I like what they got in the receiving room, obviously, but the backfield, I think it's going to be one-dimensional. And when Dak Prescott's one-dimensional, that's when the turnovers start kicking in and taking big hits and forcing plays. I think that's what Philadelphia is going to do to Dallas. Like I said, the running game, Javonte Williams, Jaden Blue, Miles Sanders, whoever it is, I don't see them doing much, and I could see Philadelphia get off to a hot start where Dallas's defense isn't good at all, especially trading away Micah Parsons last week. So with all those factors and one of the best secondaries to begin with, even though they got to contend with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, one of the better 1-2 combo receiving rooms in the league, I still think Philadelphia goes out there, has a good ball game. Number 5, the Washington Commanders staying in the division. Another division matchup in the NFC. The Commanders, another streaming option this week. The Giants, offensively, they should be improved from last year, even though the only change really in terms of playmakers, they brought Russell Wilson in, and obviously Tommy DeVito, Drew Lock on, and Daniel Jones. They cut him early last season in the year. So Washington, they get to the pass rusher. We know Dan Quinn, very familiar. Giants being the defensive coordinator many seasons with the Cowboys before he was the head coach last season for this Commander team. So I think Washington as a streaming option, they could get to the quarterback early and often. This Giant offensive line is mediocre. And the running game, we'll see how it pans out. I know Tracy was decent last year. They brought in Cam Scatterbo as well in the NFL draft. But I think Washington, they could get off to an early start and make this Giant offense one-dimensional. Number 6, the New York Jets. So the New York Jets, I like the matchup for them. Former quarterback Aaron Rodgers coming to town after they cut him loose without any explanation. They just said, your time's up here. Once Aaron Glenn was the head coach, obviously Rodgers is going to have a chip on his shoulder going into this ball game. But New York, they got a good defense led by Sauce Gardner, led by the Williams brothers on the defensive line. And I think in this ball game, it's going to be a low-scoring game, like you said early in the video, where mid-teens, low 20s between these teams. And we know Rodgers now, at 41 years old, once you get a hand on him, he's going to go down and take the sacks. I think the Jets will get a few sacks, maybe a turnover too, and a low-scoring game. Number 7, the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears, Monday Night Football. So the Bears obviously revamped offense. Caleb Williams entering his second season. Now Ben Johnson, the head coach, where he's the offensive coordinator, mastermind for the Lions last season. But this Viking defense, one of the better ball hawking units in the league and pass rushing units in the league. So Chicago, they got a very young team. Even with the new offensive mind and Ben Johnson, these guys are going to have to go through more growing pains. Caleb Williams, Roma Dunze, and even Luther Burden and Colston Loveland, if those guys see the field much in this game. But like I said, Minnesota, they get after it. They get to the quarterback. They create turnovers with a great secondary. And this week, on Monday night, division matchup, this could be a grinded-out ball game where the Vikings defense plays well. Number 8, Kansas City Chiefs. So overseas ball game, Friday night ball game. Good way to kick off the season. Division matchup as well. Chiefs at the Chargers. And this Chief defense, one of the better units it's been, and it carried them to the Super Bowl, in my opinion, last season until the Philadelphia Eagles had their way versus defense. Now the Chargers, they're versing division rival, like I said. Chargers, good offense, obviously. Justin Herbert at quarterback. Amarian Hampton, impressive rookie in the backfield. Then you got Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen. He came back after a year. He was traded to the Bears, signed in free agency. But the Chiefs, they get to the quarterback, led by Chris Jones, one of the better secondaries in the league and one of the best defensive coordinators in the league, as well as Steve Spagnuolo. So with obviously familiarity with this Charger offense, I think the Chiefs go out there and have a top 10 performance. Number 9, San Francisco 49ers. We know they lost a lot of players over the last couple seasons on defense, but when you still have obviously Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, I think that's enough to get them by in this game. I know Sam Darnold had a nice season last year in Minnesota, but gassed out towards the end of the year. But this week here, I think they could get pressure on Sam Darnold early and often. This is a division game where sometimes these games are low scoring, and like I said, for the most part, San Francisco's healthy for once coming into the season in terms on defense. Offensively, yes, they got injuries and a few players might not play in this game, but defensively, I think they could get to Darnold a few times. Offensive line not great in Seattle, even though they got good playmakers. JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba, obviously Cooper Kupp. He's been in the division his whole career now, his first year in Seattle. And Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet in the backfield, but I still think San Francisco could get a few sacks on Darnold, create a few turnovers, and have a good game. Number 10, the New England Patriots, so the Vegas Raiders coming to town in this one. And this Raider offense definitely improved from last season, and they got the best tight end in the league. Last year, Brock Bowers had a monster season in his rookie year. You had Ashton Ginty, one of the better running back prospects to come out in the draft in the last decade. And you got Geno Smith, who's a big upgrade, in my opinion, over Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. But still, I think New England with Mike Vrabel at the helm, he's a defensive-minded coach. And even with lesser talent in Tennessee for all those years, we saw them play good defense. I think this week, Gillette Stadium, New England home opener, season opener, I think even versus an improved Raider offense, they have a good ball game, and this could be a low-scoring game as well. Number 11, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Michael Penix, we saw him at the end of the year last season with the Falcons. We'll see what he can do this year. But I think the Bucs could have their way in this one, even though we've seen high-scoring games of late between these two teams, especially indoors on the fast track over there in Atlanta. But Tampa Bay, they get to the quarterback. They got a solid secondary. Todd Bowles, he's always been a defensive-minded coach, and obviously he's the head coach of this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team. And Bucs, if they get off to an early start with their high-powered offense, I think it could be a long day for Michael Penix and this offense, and turnovers could be a problem, even though this is a talented offense, obviously. Drake London, Bijan Robinson as the two top guys over there. And the 12th and final defense I'm ranking this week is the Chicago Bears. So this Bear defense, they're a solid unit. Minnesota got J.J. McCarthy starting his first NFL game. We'll see what he could do. And obviously this team's loaded offensively. Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones in the backfield, T.J. Hawkinson, newly acquired and long-time Viking, and now he's back. Adam Thielen in the mix. But I think this could be a grinded-out division game. And we know in the NFC North, these ball games, anything goes, and it's sometimes high-scoring games and then games where they're tight. So this Chicago Bear team, this expectations this season with a new head coach, good offense, solid defense they've been over the last couple of years for the most part. So I think with J.J. McCarthy in there, he's going to take some sacks, possibly a turnover or two for his first start of his NFL career. And obviously it's a tough place to go in Chicago, especially that crowd's going to be up on Monday night to kick it off. So that's a top 12 defense DST units I'm ranking for week 1 of the fantasy football season.